David, first of all, despite 15 knots and a little bit of a gusty day and so forth, we've had a chance to sample the Saratoga NX. And I got to tell you, the old ways may be the good ways, but the new ways may turn out to be the best ways. Nice job on the airplane.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this is an unbelievable airframe here, and what we've mixed here is actually the old with the new. So we've started with an 82 Saratoga, fixed gear Saratoga. We've basically torn the airplane down to as small a piece as we could, built it back up to better the new standards. It includes all the Lopresti speed mods. It includes a car-like interior, custom paint job, and then of course a new instrument panel with the new Avidyne Release 9 hardware in there. So what you end up with is an aircraft that matches or rivals the new aircraft coming off the assembly line.
David, how long a process is this? I mean, you're tearing this thing down to the nubs and rebuilding it. It's got to be something that isn't taken overnight.
No, that's right. It's probably a 4-month process, maybe even 5 months, depending on the workload through the paint and the interior shops. And you know, our work is about 350 man-hours to make it happen, but then we have to schedule interior and paint.
Let's talk about some of the things that you've done here. Now, first of all, the interior on this, it's one of the nicest things I've ever seen on a Piper product that still had a piston engine attached. Beautifully done, well thought out. The armrest with the clipboard on it is just a slick little trick. You put a lot of thought into this.
You know, you see so many airplanes being refurbished now with your standard leather pillow top seating, and it's comfortable, but it's plain, you know, and we see high-end cars coming out with some really classy looking interiors, and even the Cirrus line has started with some good looking interiors with a mix of fabric and stuff. So we stepped back on this one and said, how do we make these seats look like more car-like interior? We also changed the door handles, the armrest, and molded new armrests into the side panels, so you end up with ergonomics more like an automobile, high-end automobile.
Cirrus Design's Vision SJ50 single-engine personal jet offers exceptional fuel efficiency, flexible seating for up to 7, advanced avionics, and all the Cirrus safety features you expect, including the Cirrus airframe parachute system. With its V-tail design, the Cirrus Vision is technologically advanced, yet engineered to be simple to fly, to allow owner-pilots more lifestyle pursuits than any other personal aircraft. Learn more about the Vision SJ50 at cirrusdesign.com.
As much as I've loved the whole Cherokee 6 series and the Saratoga series in particular, these airplanes in the past have not exactly what you've been called, well, speed demons. Tell us what you've done to speed this critter up.
You know, one of the things that we wanted on this thing, of course, matching it to be as good or better than new, was to look at what's making the aircraft slow, that's weight. You know, what's making them fast, those are speed mods that some of the OEMs have already done. So we took this and, as a fresh look, went to Lopresti and said, what are the best things we could do to this thing to get more speed out of it? And we ended up putting their Lopresti cowl on it, wing tips, flap cap seals, and wheel pants to make it go faster. And we peeled about 12 knots, I'd say, onto it.
Now let's get to the real meat of the matter. One of my favorite panels, Release 9. This is the first implementation I've flown outside of Cirrus. A couple things that were interesting. One is the FMS up on the panel rather than down in the pedestal works really well. And then, of course, in this particular instrument panel, talk about room to grow.
The panel in the Saratoga, or all the Piper lines, gives you tons of room to work with. We did some testing early on with tilting the panel or trying to build a pedestal. You know, you have some problems, some issues with the flap handle, the manual flaps, which some pilots absolutely love and we believe is great. So we just basically said, let's put it in the way Piper would have put it in and go from there. The Avidyne R9, I think it's a game changer in the industry, and for us, we've worked very closely with Avidyne throughout the years, and we saw, rather than putting in, you know, 8-inch glass or another retrofit aftermarket glass panel, we went right to Avidyne and said, we want to put this in the Saratoga, and they were more than happy to help us do it.
One of the things you love about the 6 and what you love about the Saratoga is that they're just these wonderfully benign little airplanes with tremendous stability and control profiles. Despite the additional 12 knots, nothing has changed in this airplane handling-wise.
No, that's absolutely right, and it's a great airframe. It's an easy airplane to fly. It's incredibly forgiving. You can come over the numbers at basically any speed, and she'll land for you. And an interesting story with this one is that after it was done, we took the original owner out for a ride, and my thought was he was going to get excited about the R9, which of course he did in the interior, but he ended the flight with the most important thing that he couldn't believe was how quiet the airframe got. I mean, to the point that we took our headsets off in the flight and he was just beside himself. And I think a lot of that is because of the tightness of the cowl. We control the air coming into the cowl and how it goes out of the cowl, where the original design was just sucking tons of air, and you heard it. You heard it in the airframe.
The beauty of the Release 9 system architecture is that you have two fully redundant integrated flight displays. Each has access to all the systems and data. Providing full redundancy and eliminating traditional reversionary modes, Release 9 allows either display to be configured as the PFD. Now your failure modes are much more manageable because you can continue to fly with the same familiar display symbology without the need to relearn composite modes you don't typically fly with. Avidyne's Entegra Release 9 is truly the next generation in fully integrated flight deck technology.
David, tell me a little bit about the company itself. Obviously, if you're trusting your beloved Saratoga to somebody, you want to know who's out kind of pillaging your baby.
Yeah, that's right. Well, NexAir Avionics, we're up in Mansfield, Massachusetts. My background is started life as an A&P mechanic, worked my way up through engineering, worked for several defense contractors before starting another avionics company where we did turbine health monitors for turbine engines and then sold that company, and then started a NexAir Avionics in 2007. And we're at a normal avionics shops. We work on 172s all the way on up, and we do lots of mods, from Garmin mods to Aspen mods. But the biggest thing that I wanted to do was to actually take airplanes and bring them back to new standards. So the Saratoga is a great example. We've done Cessna models, other Piper models as well. So we have quite an experience in CAD layout of panels and engineering and design and everything. So if you have your airplane, it's not that big of a deal to come and make the thing look like new.
Well, here's the big question, especially for those of us who are looking up the road when we might have to go from 4 seats to 6 seats. How much?
Right out, fly it away price, zero-timed engine, firewall forward, you're looking at $395,000.
Now, how much of the Saratoga line will this be able to extend to?
We've gone all the way back into the Saratoga. We've done basically the whole P832, but we stopped at the Saratoga, 1981 Saratoga, whether that's 14-volt system or up into the newer Saratogas with 24-volt systems.
And what are some of the smaller creature comforts that are also attached to this that don't necessarily make the first pass unnoticed?
Well, yeah, it's a great question, because when we were doing the panel, we looked around and said, you know, what do we like about the Saratoga? What do we not like about the Saratoga? And one of them was switch placement, with switches placed all over the panel. And in cleaning up the panel, we decided to remove the side panel switches, bring them down under the instrument panel where the pilot had access to them and wouldn't bump them or lean on them. And with the exception of trim, the trim switch is by itself, so you can always get at it. But with all the other switches, we picked a design by a company called Avio Engineering that make rocker switches for aviation that are laser engraved with the nomenclature and actually an icon of what the switch does. And it's very simple, very clean, and makes for a great looking panel.
And what's the future for this particular program? Obviously, you've got to have some other ideas about what you can do with this.
Yeah, well, the Saratoga line, of course, you know, we'll finish this, get it certified. We're finishing that up now, and we'll move probably up into some other Piper models, and then move across potentially into a TBM, a PC-12. Aircraft, I think, that can really benefit from the R9 experience, so to speak. Meanwhile, we continue to do other airplanes like Moonies, and we'll do retrofits of those airplanes to bring new panels into them with Garmin equipment and some Aspen equipment, and basically bring them up to better new standards.
Dave, thanks for a fun flight, great ride, and a chance to reacquaint myself with a wonderful old airplane with a new set of wings.
No, happy to have you aboard. Thanks for having me down.